Howdy YouTube and fellow blood brothers. This here's Grebner, and I'm one happy man because I got my first deer ever. Spirit is running high. Spirit of the wild. I heard Fred Bear in the wind again, and this time he was with me. It's just an undescribable feeling. I can still hardly even stand up. I went out today in the early afternoon and went out in my tree stand, and I climbed up with my climber that I just got, and well, I put out my scent bombs too along a scraped line, and there was nothing there. Some people had been walking through the woods at my spot, and so it kind of spooked the deer away from for a while. So I took down my stand, hiked around to another spot where I'd seen deer go in, put it around the tree and climbed up and sat there. I had my scent bombs at about, I don't know, 15 yards, 20 yards out, and I saw a doe over in the field, in the alfalfa field by the railroad tracks, and she wouldn't come across to where I could get a shot at her. She was about 100 yards away, and so I was starting to get frustrated, and shooting light was kind of fading, so I put my rope on my bow and lowered it down, and well, I reached around to unstrap my climber, unstrap my safety straps, and lo and behold, after I get my safety straps undone, I hear a snap behind me. And there's this deer that's just walking through the woods. They just appear. And it's something magical to watch them. And then all of a sudden I remembered, hey, my bow's on the ground on my bow line. So I was as quiet as I could, and I was facing the wrong direction. So I pulled my bow up real slow. Well, it was probably quick, but I got my bow up, and I got my arrow out and got it on the string, and then I remembered I needed to take the knot off, untie the knot, so I just let the bow line kind of run through my fingers and get down. So I got situated around in my stand, and light was fading pretty bad, and I thought it was a doe to start out with, just a yearling doe, and it was looking at my scent bomb that I had out. I think it was looking at the trophy buck that I had out from my tinks, and it looked up at me, and it was starting to leave, and then it caught a whiff of my super lure and came around, and my heart was pounding, and it was about 15 yards away from me, and I drew back, and I don't even remember aiming, and I just focused on a pin, and I ended up releasing and thinking that I'd missed, but then the deer just fell flat over on its side after it jumped, and turns out I spined it. So at this point my legs are giving out. I'm getting buck fever, even though I thought it was a doe, because it's my first deer, and I was just really excited. I almost fell out of my damn tree stand, to tell you the truth, and I'd already unhooked my safety harness, and I was getting ready to climb down, so I let my bow down, and the deer's still kind of kicking, and so with a little bit of effort to not fall out, because the spirit was running high, fellas, let me tell you. There's something to the spirit of the wild that you just can't replicate. Anyways, so I get out of my tree stand, and the deer's still kind of kicking a little bit. So I get out my Bowie knife and I'm going to make it fast, and so I put it in at the point of the shoulder and just cut down, hit the lungs, hit the heart, over and done with. Made sure that the deer didn't suffer. And then I turned on my hat light, because shooting light was already gone now by the time that I got out of my stand, and I felt the head and it was a button buck, and I wasn't sure what I had to tag it as, but there was still velvet over the antlers, so I went ahead and tagged it with my antlerless only tag. And my tree stand probably weighs 35 pounds because I put a wooden seat on it, and I don't know what this deer weighed, probably 80, maybe 100. But this button buck, I got my bow line off and I got my hat light and I'm working, tying it to the legs and going to pack up my tree stand and pick up my scent bombs and put everything away. So I put my tree stand on my back, go loop the bow line around me because I use a lariat to pull up my bow, start walking out with this deer to pick up my bow. And that's the longest 100 yards, actually the longest 300 yards. It was 50 yards of timber and a ways across the alfalfa field to where we could drive down and get it. And I called my dad and he was happy for me, and it hadn't hit me until about after we got him field dressed, skinned out and hung up in the cooler. But even though I'm sorry that I shot a button buck that ain't going to be there next year, I'm just really happy that I got a deer. And I'd have preferred to been in the vitals, but I don't know. I made a decent clean kill. My windage was alright because it was right on the point of the shoulder, but it was just a little too high. I think I might have used my 30-yard pin because that was the brightest, but I'm not sure. It's all a blur. But I'm one happy redneck right now, and I don't know. It's just something that's hard to describe. And I got my arrow out of him, and it's bent just a little bit, but it took care of him. And so we may be having venison for Thanksgiving, because I just am really proud of myself and just still really excited. We're in pre-rut right now, so the big boys will be coming out to play after the 1st of November, or about 5th of November, and so now I can settle down a little bit now that I got a deer on the ground, and hopefully we'll see if I can't get a bigger one. I'd be happy with an 8-point now, but whatever God decides to send my way, I'll be fine with. And I keep saying I'm happy, but I'm really happy. And what we got to remember is, even though they're animals, we're taking their lives, and you got to honor every life you take. And so I plan on eating this deer, and it's going to be a happy memory. And it's just still kind of hitting me, but if you could pick a word for me right now, it would be happy. Excited. I'm actually cold right now, but it's just a great sport, hunting, and spirit of the wild is running strong here in central Illinois. God bless all you blood brothers and blood sisters, all you who are serving in the military. If you should come across this video, thank you for serving, and good hunting.